If you walk into any tattoo studio today and listen to the background noise, you will notice a huge contradiction between what people tell you about history and what is actually happening in the room. This buzz is the sound of a century of mechanical refinement. Most videos on the internet will tell you that the very first electric tattoo machine was invented in 1891 by an artist named Samuel O'Reilly, who modified Thomas Edison's electric office pen and modified the spinning motor. It's a clean story, but it's incomplete. Edison's pen was designed for duplicating documents on a desk. O'Reilly saw the potential to bring this technology into the skin, replacing the manual hand-poking method with the speed of an electric motor. But the rotary had a hidden physics problem. It sounds like a simple, logical progression, but if you look at the actual machines on the shop shelves today, you realize something doesn't add up. Most traditional setups don't use a smooth, spinning rotary motor at all. They look and sound completely different. They use a heavy, loud magnetic coil machine that buzzes like a swarm of bees and strikes the skin like a rapid-fire hammer. If the first machine was a quiet rotary, where on earth did this aggressive magnetic beast come from? To find the true origin, we have to look at the physics of human skin. The early rotary machines had a massive limitation for daily work. The motors were smooth, but they lacked torque. When an artist tried to push thick needles into tough skin, the motors would bog down. The circular spinning motion also meant the needle spent a fraction of a second dragging sideways against the tissue as it rotated. This side drag caused significant skin trauma and slowed down the healing process. The industry needed a vertical solution. The early trade desperately needed raw, vertical power, a machine that could strike the skin with an instantaneous punch and pull straight back up. The breakthrough didn't come from a lab. It came from a London tattooist named Tom Riley looking at a standard Victorian doorbell. In 1891, exactly 20 days after the rotary patent was filed in America, a London tattooist named Tom Riley looked at a standard Victorian household electric doorbell and realized it contained the exact rapid-fire motion the industry was looking for. Riley realized the doorbell contained the exact rapid-fire motion the industry was looking for. An electric doorbell operates using a simple electromagnet. When you press the button, power flows through a wire coil, creating a magnetic field. The moment that arm moves forward, it physically breaks the electrical connection. The magnet shuts off, and a tiny steel spring pulls the arm back, completing the circuit again. This loop repeats hundreds of times a second, creating a continuous vibration. Riley stripped the brass bells off, attached a needle bar directly to the metal arm, and created the very first coil machine. It replaced the circular spin of a motor with the aggressive linear punch of a magnetic circuit. But it solved power at the cost of precision. South realized that the only way to stabilize the needle was to split the magnetic force across 2 points. He added a second coil. By using a dual-coil configuration, South created a perfectly balanced magnetic field. It was the birth of mechanical equilibrium. South realized that the only way to stabilize the needle was to split the magnetic force across 2 points. He added a second coil. By using a dual-coil configuration, South created a perfectly balanced magnetic field. It was the birth of mechanical equilibrium. Enclosed inside steel plates, the machine became so heavy it was nearly impossible to hold. To make the tool usable across a long session, early British studios had to install heavy iron springs directly into the ceilings of their shops. It was a crude but effective fix. They would run a cord from the ceiling down to the machine frame, allowing the suspension system to take the weight off the artist's hand. This allowed the studio to focus entirely on steering the lines with precision, while the ceiling took the load of the heavy magnets. The design finally came down from the ceiling in 1904, back on the streets of New York. An artist named Charlie Wagner looked at the heavy British dual-coil blueprints and realized the geometry was backward. The European machines placed the coils horizontally. Wagner took those coils and stood them up vertically, positioning them directly in line with the tube and the artist's grip. This shift placed the weight directly over the pivot point of the hand, balancing the tool perfectly. It was the birth of the portable vertical standard. Wagner's design introduced the ability to tune the machine's timing. By adjusting the contact screw, an artist could control the hit, how hard the needle strikes the skin. This allowed a single tool to be customized for fine lining or heavy shading. Mechanical versatility. This introduced the concept of the duty cycle, the ratio of time the needle is in the skin versus pulling back. Tuning a machine became an art form in itself, requiring a deep understanding of electrical flow and spring tension to match the unique resistance of human skin. Unlike a rigid rotary motor that forces the needle through anything, a magnetic coil has natural give. If the needle hits a tough spot or a bone, the magnetic field allows for a slight cushion, reducing trauma and giving the artist more control over the depth and saturation. The evolution of these tools proves the craft was never just handed down by a single inventor. It was built by working-class creators crossing oceans, taking everyday appliances apart, and rebuilding them to master skin physics. That focus on precision is why AliceTattoos.com exists. We aren't building a social feed. We're building a practical utility that respects the preparation of a design. In the shop, the stencil is your blueprint. If the stencil is wrong, the tattoo is wrong. We built tools to ensure your technical preparation matches this legacy. Whether you are an individual visualizing a layout or a creator generating accurate stencils, the official Alice Companion application is available now on the App Store and Google Play. It brings modern technology to the planning phase with absolute clarity. A tattoo is never just a passing fashion accessory. It is a lifelong choice, a permanent commitment to your own identity. The tools we use were engineered by people who respected the skin and built hardware to last. When you approach your canvas with that care, you build a legacy. This is the science of the mark. It's a respect for the physics, the history, and the craft. If this journey gave you a fresh perspective today, hit that subscribe button and join our community. We focus entirely on the substance of the trade every single week. I want to hear from you in the comments below. Do you prefer the quiet precision of a modern rotary pen? Or do you still love the rhythm and weight of a traditional dual-coil machine? Let's open up a real, thoughtful discussion in the comments down below. Subscribe if you want to know how the game actually works. Peace. Respect the physics. Respect the history. Respect the craft. Take care of your canvas. Explore the tools available to plan your next piece, and I'll catch you on the next deep dive. Peace.